Hey there, Mary here from Mary's Heirloom Seeds. Welcome to our weekly live. I will give you all a chance to join me. We'll give you a couple seconds to stop in and say hi and see how you're all doing today. It's Earth Day, so I'm going to be mentioning a couple of my favorites today. Just to get started here, kind of moving all around here, trying to get comfy, right? So today we're going to talk about a few of my favorite things. Hey, Gail, welcome. Thank you. I love my seeds too. I use them in my own garden. Hey, Crystal, thank you for joining me. I'm going to try and adjust my camera just a little bit. There we go. Hey, Shirley, thanks for joining us. All right, so happy Earth Day, everyone. If you're just joining me for the first time, please definitely check out all of the different videos we have on our YouTube channel. So hit that like button on this video, subscribe to our channel if you haven't already. Crystal, I'm going to talk about the freeze tonight. Hey, Alvin, thanks for joining me. I'm seeing some awesome faces, some of my regulars. So if you're just joining me tonight, I go live every Thursday. I am Mary at Mary's Heirloom Seeds. Yes, there really is a Mary. Hello, Aranda children. Welcome. So every week I go live and I have a different topic every time. We do have some other videos on our web, on our Facebook and our YouTube and everything that are not live. But weekly live every Thursday at 5 p.m. Pacific time. Now, a couple people have asked, what are Mary's favorite varieties? And honestly, that's a really difficult question. I have so many favorite varieties that it's really hard to just narrow it down to a couple. So again, if you're just joining us here, please hit that like button and subscribe to our channel. Hey, Robert, we got our moderator here, one of our moderators joining us tonight. It's Earth Day. Thank you for celebrating Earth Day with us. Now, we have an Earth Day sale. I'll get that out of the way. We have an Earth Day sale going on right now through Saturday, the 25th, I think. Please don't quote me on that. It is on my website, which is marysheirloomseeds.com. If you go to Mary's blog or you go to the most recent post, you will find a list of some amazing varieties that are on sale right now. Hey, Jane, thank you. Happy Earth Day to you. So let's talk about a couple of my favorite things. Now I know what some of our customers' favorites are because I can see what sells faster or the most on our website. But I do have a few of my favorite things that I'd like to share with you tonight. Now, if you don't want to write this down, or you don't have to write it down, it's not school, it's not homework. But if you don't want to watch the video at a later time or a second time, third time, fourth time, you can always go to Mary's Heirloom Seeds, and I will have this as a text version on our blog as well. So a few weeks ago it was asked, what are Mary's favorite varieties? And I will tell you, it did take me a couple weeks to get this down because I have so many favorites that I have grown over the years. But I had to kind of narrow it down a little bit to fit into a single video instead of having to do, like 5 different videos about the 600 varieties that I love. So let's talk about a couple of my favorites. Tonight I'm drinking lemon water. No coffee for me tonight. I have had plenty of caffeine and I am looking to drink more water and stay hydrated, which is super important. So, sounds kind of silly. We are talking about my favorite things on Earth Day and I'm inside. So for those of you, Crystal mentioned earlier, it's cold. We had rain outside and it's cold. Hey, Kim, last week we had 80 degrees. We had all the windows open and the AC actually kicked in on the house. Today we had the heater kick on in the house. We had a high of under 60 degrees. It's raining outside. It's cold. So I'm not outside discussing a few of my favorite things, and I'm not outside sharing with you my garden. So without further ado, let's talk about my favorite things. It's all about me today, apparently. So number one is Cherokee purple tomato. That is probably not a shocker to those of you who follow me on social media, YouTube, all that fun stuff. Instagram, I posted a couple pictures. Cherokee purple is hands down my absolute favorite, not only heirloom tomato, but heirloom variety, period. If I had to choose one crop to grow, which that would be really sad, to be honest. If I had to choose one crop to grow, it would definitely be Cherokee purple tomato. Why? Aranda's Children says my favorite too. It is by far my favorite. I get super excited about growing Cherokee purple tomato. Why? It has a very bold flavor. It is a perfect summer snack. I could literally eat it sliced up by itself. But I do really enjoy, Gail says mine too, loving my Cherokee purple tomatoes. Awesome. So I will slice it. I'll put some mozzarella cheese, a little bit of basil, a little bit of olive oil, maybe a little salt and pepper, and just, I could eat piles of it. It is so good. So my number one heirloom variety that is my favorite is Cherokee purple tomato. And I know Cherokee heirloom tomatoes are a very common favorite for people. When you think about heirlooms, you think about heirloom tomatoes. Now, if I could choose a second heirloom tomato variety, it would be the San Marzano tall vine. It is by far the best sauce tomato I have ever used. I mix up San Marzano tall vine. The difference is the San Marzano tall vine is an indeterminate. It produces massive amounts of gigantic sauce paste tomatoes. And I'll take those and I'll use some garlic, some oregano, some basil, and just mix it up into an amazing, a little bit of thyme maybe, to make a really nice sauce. I put onions in my sauce. Some people don't put onions. I like putting onions in my sauce. But that would be my second favorite heirloom tomato. Gail says I'll have to order some. If you look on my website, those are my tomatoes that I grew. Those San Marzano in my hands, they are fantastic. I've got a picture of 3 of them and they take up my entire hand. Granted, I have smaller hands, but still, these things are gigantic. So I highly recommend that variety as well. Crystal says I need to add those to my tomato collection. Crystal, you have a massive heirloom seed collection. It's starting to rival mine, but maybe not quite as big. So that is my second favorite, and that's because it's a sauce tomato. But I don't make a lot of sauce, so the Cherokee purple is definitely my favorite. Now, my second favorite heirloom crop is Swiss chard. Gail says crim's your favorite. Those are really good as well. I did grow a good crop of black crim tomatoes last year. Hey, Jose, welcome and happy Earth Day as well. Now, Swiss chard is my number 2. And that, again, if you haven't, Oranda Children, I will get to that actually. That's on my list, but you're getting ahead of me today. Now, if you follow me on social media, it is not a shocker to know that my number 2 crop for heirloom favorites is Swiss chard. It is bomb-proof, as my friend Catherine at Little Bits of Heaven Homestead calls it. I call it bulletproof, but whatever. It is pest tolerant. It is heat tolerant. It can grow 12 to 18 months or even more with the same plant. So you can plant that thing one time, and if you are in a moderate climate where it doesn't get super hot or super cold, you can grow that thing for 2 years. So Swiss chard is amazing. Mr. Old Clunker says, this is my first time planting Swiss chard. Well, welcome to the wonderful world of Swiss chard. Now, my problem, not really a problem, right? It's really hard for me to decide which I have as a favorite. So I have 2, and that is the ruby red Swiss chard and the flamingo pink Swiss chard. I love both of them. The ruby red probably comes in at number 1 because it is a bigger plant, at least in my experience. The ruby red Swiss chard has grown bigger than my pink flamingo or flamingo pink Swiss chard. but that pink flamingo Swiss chard is beautiful. So I highly recommend both. Now, the rainbow Swiss chard is a good one. I do grow it regularly in my garden, and you do get multiple colors in a single pack. However, the pink flamingo is very unique. So if you're looking for something to add some vibrant colors in your garden, that flamingo pink Swiss chard is amazing. One of my live videos recently, I did have some Swiss chard behind me. It was the video where Lucy, my little mini cat, was trampling behind my stuff. And I had to shoo her off because cats aren't supposed to eat a lot of Swiss chard, and really makes her sick anyway because she has a little bit of a delicate stomach. So my cats do actually eat lettuce. I just don't give them a lot of Swiss chard. So if you are looking for something that will continue to produce, Swiss chard is amazing. I just planted rainbow Swiss chard in my mom's new garden. She's got a new house and a cute little garden. And I planted some things for her, and rainbow Swiss chard was one of them. It's great because you can harvest the outer leaves and leave that plant to continue producing. And like I said, 12, 14, 18 months on a single plant is fantastic. There's no telling how much you can produce just from a single packet of seeds. Our Swiss chard seeds are about 100 per pack, so you can imagine that's a lot of Swiss chard over the next 2 years if you planted all of that, which that would be a lot of Swiss chard. So just warning you there. If you guys have any questions, you're welcome to ask me while I'm chatting here. You can also send an email if you don't want to comment below. You can send an email to mary@marysheirloomseeds.com. I know some people follow us on our YouTube channel, but they're not signed in, so they can't necessarily comment. So if you'd like to ask a question, you can always send an email to mary@marysheirloomseeds.com. Now, next on my list is Jade bush beans. Holy bejesus, they produced so many green beans this year. It was, or last season. It was amazing. So Jade bush beans have now outproduced my Blue Lake bush beans from last year. Side by side comparison, they've kicked the Blue Lake bush beans out. Now, don't get me wrong. Blue Lake bush beans are still a staple in our garden. However, the Jade bush beans outperformed last year. It was a pretty weird year last year, and honestly, it's looking like a pretty weird year this year as well. But those Jade bush beans were created some of the best dilly beans. If you've never had dilly beans, I'm a little disappointed. I just finished eating my last jar of dilly beans from last year. If you've ever canned some homegrown food and you've eaten that last jar, you know you're like jonesing for your next dilly bean fix, which is just kind of silly, but they are really, really good. And I do like pickles. So Jade bush beans, if you're looking for something to pickle, they are amazing. But the Blue Lake bush beans are definitely still a runner-up in our garden. I was just really impressed with how the Jade bush beans performed last year. Beets, love them or hate them. Some people absolutely love them and some people absolutely hate them. I love them. Doc, on the other hand, nope. So all the beets that we produce here are either given away or I eat them. So I can them, or you can freeze them. One thing I love about beets is they're what I call a double duty crop. So you can actually eat the leaves of the beets, and you can also eat the root of the beet, which is nice. Gail Collins, oh my, love dilly beans and beets. You're awesome. I'm glad. I kind of missed the last of your comments, so I'm going to kind of scoot in here and see all-time faves. Awesome. We love to hear that. Now, Chioggia beet is my all-time favorite. Now, why Chioggia beet? Let me see if I can get rid of this real quick. There we go. Awesome. So Chioggia beets are so beautiful. If you go on our website at marysheirloomseeds.com and you check out our beet selection, the Chioggia beets look like a peppermint candy. They are a bullseye. They are pinkish or red and white on the inside. So the cool thing about it is they don't stain. So if you're chopping it on a board, you're not going to see this big red murder scene. Really, that was one of the random comments from a customer when I chopped up a bunch of red beets. Your fingers are red, your countertops are red, your cutting boards are red. But with the Chioggia beet, I find that it has a slightly less earthy taste to it. And I think that's why, honestly, Doc really doesn't like beets. Doc, by the way, is my other half. I've mentioned him on several videos. He's a retired doctor, so we call him Doc. For privacy reasons, we don't. He's not on social media or anything. So the Chioggia beet is awesome. If you're looking for something even less earthy than the Chioggia beet, the golden beet is an excellent option. I've got friends locally, my sister, that they love growing the golden beets. So that's another option for you, but maybe not my favorite. Jose says, I laugh every time I see the Super Beets commercial. I always think, just grow some beets. It's true. You know, one of the things that people talk about is all these different superfoods, and you can get this powdered this and ground that and packaged pickled beets in a single container. Listen, it's Earth Day. We're talking about growing your own food, and buying prepackaged food in plastic is not the best option if you want to be eco-friendly, but it's definitely not fresh. So beets are super easy to grow your own. Like I said, they do taste earthy depending on which variety you choose. The Chioggia beet is a great one. The golden beet is a favorite of some of our customers that like a sweeter beet that is, again, less earthy. So, but my favorite is the Chioggia. Let's talk about squash. Cheers. Make sure you stay hydrated, people. It has been, I already mentioned this earlier, but it was super hot a couple days ago. It was 80 degrees, 83, I think. Our AC went on. And today we have a high of under 60 degrees. So just because it's not warm outside doesn't mean you don't stop drinking your water. So make sure you stay hydrated. So squash. I have grown so many different varieties of squash. It's definitely a homesteader's favorite or a backyard gardener's favorite. Squash is one of the easier varieties to grow. It really just depends on what you like. So, of course, we have the standard, hey Nana's Menagerie, welcome and thank you for joining me here. Let's go ahead and hit that button there. We're going to add ya. There you go. Nana's Menagerie is now one of our moderators for the evening. So squash. Squash, the running joke for backyard gardeners is you like are leaving bags on your neighbor's porch because you grow so much of it. So the Black Beauty zucchini is probably one of the most prolific varieties I grow, but it's not my favorite. I love it, and it's great for zoodles, which is Nana's Menagerie says, I was going to change to 2 families, but that's okay. Well, we love both of your channels. So for those of you just joining me here, if you haven't subscribed to my channel, please do that. Hit that like button. Check out some of the other channels that are following us tonight on our YouTube video. Zoodles are an awesome low carb option for noodles. Hang on just a second. I missed what you just said, Crystal. You said squash is also a favorite, but the most annoying bugs ever. Yes. So if you want to try and reduce your bugs in your garden, you can use companion planting, which I will talk about as I get through my list. But Benning's Green Tint Scallop Squash is my top squash variety. It's a little more fun than the standard yellow patty pan. A yellow patty pan is also called a scallop squash. Jane says pickled beets are my favorite thing to can. I have 2 pints left. I know, Jane, I was talking about that earlier. Anybody that cans your own food, when you get down to your last jar or your last 2 jars, it's really, you really get almost emotional about it, because all that work that you spent not only growing that food, but then canning that food, and you're almost done. So fortunately, beets are a cool weather crop. So Benning's Green Tint Scallop Squash is my favorite heirloom squash variety. It is a summer squash variety. And like I said, it's a little more fun and fancy than your typical yellow scallop squash. I do have a video and a recipe on our website for stuffed scallop squash, which is really awesome. Hey, Jesse, I wish I could be overrun with zucchini, but the struggle with powdery mildew killing me quicker than I can treat it. The yellow scallop squash and patty pan are less affected. So that's a great point. Because yellow scallop squash, or most scallop squash varieties, are a smaller, more compact variety of summer squash, they also mature faster than zucchini. That's why they are my number one. So if you want something that is faster maturing in your garden and a little more versatile in the kitchen, definitely check out the scallop squash varieties we carry. So the Benning's Green Tint is my favorite. We also carry a white scallop and a yellow scallop. So you do have options if you want some more color in your garden. Now, if I wanted to choose a second summer squash variety, the Ronde de Niche squash is my number two. Now, the Ronde de Niche, Yolene says, I'm a novice gardener and can't germinate squash and beet seeds. I've tried growing in seed trays and directly in the raised beds. I live in the Caribbean where it's almost 80 degrees. So if you are germinating seeds, I highly recommend you check out our website. The Wonder of Seeds and Germination is an article I recently published on our website. It gives you a lot of great information about germinating seeds, and I will post links to those in the description section of this video. Oftentimes when people have trouble germinating seeds like those, which are actually those two varieties are fairly easy, usually it's an issue of planting them too deep, and then either too much water or not enough water. Gail, thank you for joining me. You are also welcome to just watch the video later on and snuggle up on those cows for me. Cows are awesome. We have a couple neighbors, and I check them out every year. All their babies, and it's just cute stuff. So the squash varieties I was discussing earlier, kind of getting back into the swing of things here. My number two is the Ronde de Niche. Now, if you are eating a low carb diet, and maybe you want to make something like an apple crisp, but apples are higher carb, you can actually switch it out with zucchini or Ronde de Niche squash. Now, the great thing about Ronde de Niche is it has a little nuttier of a flavor to it than your typical zucchini. It's a summer squash. It's not a zucchini, even though zucchini is a summer squash. It is amazing. You can harvest the squash when it is very small, or you can harvest it when it's very large. If you harvest it super large, those seeds are going to be very bigger and tougher. So you're going to want to scoop those seeds out before you cook it. But it's a great stuffing variety. Both the scallop squash and the Ronde de Niche are great if you want to stuff squash. You just scoop those seeds out, put in any of the yummy deliciousness that you want, and bake it however you decide. Yum. Now, winter squash. Winter squash usually stores for longer than summer squash. Actually, I should say it always, in my experience, has stored better than summer squash. So my top winter squash variety is the Hubbard Blue Squash. And if you go to our website, which is marysheirloomseeds.com, you will find a picture of me holding this enormous blue squash. Aranda Children Tips on Growing Corn. My corn came out small. Check out our website. If you are newer to gardening or you're not sure, on our website we have both a comprehensive planting guide, which is jam-packed full of awesome information, and then we have also a page titled Growing Tips and Videos. And on that, you can scroll down through some of the videos and you will find specific planting guides for specific varieties. And I know for a fact that I have one on growing corn. So if you're having trouble growing corn, or you're having trouble growing prolific amounts of corn, definitely check out our website. There's a lot of free information available. So back to Hubbard squash. Hubbard squash is actually considered a trap crop. So it is used in companion planting for pest control. But I have harvested some of the most amazing Hubbard blue squash. So it is one that I highly recommend. You can use it in place of pumpkin. If you don't grow these giant pumpkins here, you can use the Hubbard blue squash. It is on the sweeter side. It is a deep orange color on the inside and a blue on the outside. It is amazing. It will definitely store for several months depending on how you treat it. Now, the Geet Okosomen is a very old, probably one of the most unique varieties of winter squash I've ever grown. The minimum I grew was like 8.5 pounds for a single squash, and actually at full maturity they will grow to be about 30 pounds. It has a very unique, amazing story behind it. We are currently out of stock of the Geet Okosomen seeds, but as soon as we have our first harvest and some seed germination tests, we should have them back available on our website. I mentioned it is a very old variety. If you go to marysheirloomseeds.com, you will find all of the information about all of these varieties. And in the description section of this video, after I'm done going live, I will share a couple links. Anything that I'm answering, any questions I'm answering, I'll try to share the links as well. That way you can see it. So that's it for squash. Next on my list is watermelon radish. It is not a watermelon, it is a radish. It has a white and green skin on the outside and a beautiful mottled pinkish red inside. So it kind of looks like a watermelon. From seed to harvest is anywhere from 45 to 55 days. I tell you, it is one of the easier varieties to grow. Radish in particular is usually a good, fast, easy crop to grow. It can grow in warmer weather, but really radish is usually a cooler weather crop. Crystal says, I have that one. It's one of the first ever seeds I bought from you. Awesome. So watermelon radish is definitely on the top of my list. If I had to choose one radish, that was the only one I could ever grow, that would be the one I would grow. And you can actually eat radish raw or cooked or pickled, as Jessie just said. So it is a very versatile crop. Again, with radish, you can eat the greens. They are a little prickly, so I would highly recommend cooking them, sauteing them. You can cook them just like you would spinach, so you can eat the greens. It's, again, what I call a double duty crop. We have Jojo joining me here today. He's kind of checking everything out, making sure everything's good tonight. So corn is something. Hey, Attila, thank you for joining me. Welcome, and happy Earth Day, everybody, for joining me. If you're just joining me, I go live here every Thursday at 5 p.m. Pacific time. We used to go live on Facebook, but I realized that not everybody is on Facebook or social media, and YouTube is a really easy platform for us to use. So stay tuned for more helpful videos. We are talking about my favorite varieties. It's not very often I talk about just me, but one of our customers asked, what are your favorite varieties to grow? So tonight, that is what I'm sharing with you. So speaking of corn, someone asked earlier about different corn. Glass gem corn is hands down my favorite. You can use it for cornmeal. You can use it for popcorn. It has been showcased in multiple videos here on our YouTube channel, and I just so happen to have 2 ears. Glass gem corn is beautiful. So these came from the same seed stock, and you can see there are multiple varieties, multiple colors on the same variety of corn. Glass gem also has a very old and very unique history. It was saved and stored and cultivated by a man named Carl L. Barnes out of Oklahoma. He came from Native American heritage, and those seeds that he grew and saved and passed on to other people had come from his family line as well. So we are honored to continue to grow the glass gem corn and then also offer it to our customers so you can grow it as well in your homestead. Glass gem corn is considered a popcorn variety, but you can also use it ground. So some customers have asked, well, how does it taste? Well, you don't eat it like a sweet corn. You don't eat it as a corn on the cob. And trust me, I have tried just so that I could tell you that it was not that good. Sweet corn is harvested when it is fresher and the husks are green and still full of moisture. Whereas popcorn varieties, dent corn varieties, field corn varieties, those are typically harvested when they are more in the drying stage. So you're definitely not going to want to eat this. But if you do check out some of our older videos on our YouTube channel, you will find several about glass gem corn. Number one, I explained what it is. Number two, I described how to grow it. And number three, we described how to harvest seeds. I also have a very special video with my niece and nephew, and we are popping corn at their house. Well, not freshly harvested, but harvested from my own backyard. I took it to their house and we had a little popcorn party and we popped it. So glass gem corn is a versatile variety of corn. It can be used for cornmeal as well as popcorn. So that's it for my corn. We don't eat a lot of corn here. We do grow a lot for seed, but we don't necessarily eat a lot of corn here. Cassava Golden Beauty Melon. It is not a variety I discuss often, but it is my favorite melon variety. I did grow a nice little crop last year. The sweet juiciness of those melons when you harvest them at the peak of ripeness are amazing. By far better than any melon you can buy in the grocery store, especially if you can harvest it outside, cool it in the fridge a little bit, and then just slice it up and eat it right there. It is amazing. There is nothing better than a homegrown melon. So if you're looking to grow something that's pretty easy and pretty simple, the Cassava Golden Beauty Melon is perfect. I almost forgot peppers in my list. Can you believe it? So I've got 3 favorite peppers to discuss tonight. So for a sweet variety, my favorite is chocolate baby bell pepper. It is not a big pepper. It is a teeny pepper. You can fit a whole handful, a bunch of them in one hand. It's excellent for appetizers. So if you're looking for a pepper for like a stir fry, there's not a lot of meat on a single baby bell pepper. They're like teeny, but they are perfect as an appetizer. You can eat them raw. You can stuff them with cheese or any kind of condiment that you like. They are really, really good. So if you're looking for a sweet pepper that's really easy to grow, I've grown it in containers, I've grown it in 5-gallon buckets, and I've grown it in raised beds. So it's a pretty versatile pepper. It doesn't take up a lot of space, which is super awesome, especially if you have a smaller space to grow in. The chocolate baby bell pepper is an excellent one. Now let's talk about hot peppers. My favorite. I do like peppers, but hot peppers are excellent for me. Now my number one choice for a hot pepper is the yellow Scotch bonnet. It has been showcased in several of my videos as well. You might notice that some of my videos, I talk a lot about my favorites already. So the yellow Scotch bonnet, I did a video on taste testing and saving those seeds. I did another video on fermenting. So I make some of the most amazing, in my opinion, fermented hot pepper sauce. So that includes the yellow Scotch bonnet. It's really, really easy to ferment Scotch bonnets. It's easy to ferment most peppers, but that's my number one. And my number 2 hot pepper is the Peter pepper. It has a special place in the garden. It is just a funny addition to the garden. It's kind of a conversation piece, but it's not as hot as the yellow Scotch bonnet. So just to give you an example, the jalapeno pepper is about 8,000 on the Scoville units. The Peter pepper is about 50,000 on the Scoville unit. Rachel says, hello, I'm a new customer. I bought around 12 bean varieties. Awesome. Thank you for joining me and welcome. Now, like I mentioned, the Peter pepper is about 50,000 on the Scoville unit, so it is significantly hotter than a jalapeno. The yellow Scotch bonnet, on the other hand, yes, we do carry Peter peppers. If you go under marysheirloomseeds.com, under our peppers, there's Peter peppers, and you can see my small-ish hand holding my homegrown Peter peppers. Now, the yellow Scotch bonnet, on the other hand, is about 250,000 Scovilles. So it is much warmer than any of the other peppers that we grow. Not as hot as a ghost pepper, but it has a great flavor to it that's not just burn your face off hot. It's a really good flavorful pepper. So that's it for my peppers. I have a favorite snack in the garden. So earlier today, Aranda Children says, why is it called a Peter pepper? Well, it is somewhat phallic in shape. So it's also called a pecker pepper. So it may not be as family friendly for some of you, but it is absolutely hilarious for others. So it's definitely a funny one. Even my mom kind of laughed about it. She wouldn't necessarily grow it in her garden, but I thought it was funny. Aranda Children, you asked about cherry tomatoes. Now, my favorite snack in the garden is a yellow pear tomato. It's not a cherry, it's a pear, but it's still on the smaller side, and it is sweet. When we first started harvesting the yellow pear tomatoes, none of them made it in the house. They all got eaten outside while we were harvesting. So it is a really good snack in the garden. My other favorite snacks in the garden are wood chip garden. Hi, welcome, and happy Earth Day. Thank you for joining me. We are almost done. Today we're talking about my favorite heirloom varieties in the garden. All of this information will be available on our website as well and in the comments below. I will have a text version of this video for those of you that don't want to watch my fun video. So my favorite snacks in the garden are borage flowers and nasturtium flowers, as well as yellow pear tomatoes. Crystal says, little tomatoes are my weakness. I love them. I do too. They are so good. I'll just give them a little blast of the hose and just pop them right in my mouth. They are so good. So last but certainly not least are my favorite flowers. So earlier I mentioned my favorite snacks in the garden are borage flowers and nasturtium flowers. But I also have a couple favorite flowers that I use, and that is calendula is one. I've got a video as well on how to make your own calendula infused oil, and we do harvest that right outside. Calendula is, I don't think I will ever have a garden that is a complete garden without calendula. So it's definitely a plus when you can grow your own medicinal crops, right? And last but certainly not least, of course, the sunflowers. The mammoth gray striped sunflower is huge. It's mammoth. When I say mammoth, it is huge. So I definitely love that. You can use the mammoth sunflower either as a snack, so you can eat the seeds. You can also use it as bird feed or animal feed. So sunflowers are really nice. Or they produce a ton of seeds. So if you just harvest one crop of sunflower seeds, you've got enough sunflower seeds to last the rest of your lifetime, probably, to help you grow your own seeds and save them. If you are interested in seed saving, there's a lot of information available on our website. We have shared that. Yes, we are a seed company. But part of what we do is teach you how to grow your own food and teach you how to save those seeds so that you can do the same and you can continue to produce your own seeds later on. So I hope you have enjoyed my fun video tonight. We are live here every Thursday at 5 p.m. Pacific time on our YouTube channel. Definitely check out our different social media. We're on Facebook, we're on Instagram, and of course, we're on YouTube. So hit that like button, subscribe to our channel if you haven't already. And last but certainly not least, we have an Earth Day seed sale. This sale ends on Saturday. So if you're in the market for some seeds, all of our seeds are fresh with a super awesome germination rate. Our customers have shared that same sentiment with me as well. So I'm super excited that I've got awesome germination rates in my own garden and in your garden as well. If you have any questions, you can always send me an email to mary@marysheirloomseeds.com. I am Mary. Yes, there really is a Mary, as crazy as it sounds. And I actually answer your calls and your emails. I'm going to sign off for the day. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope you enjoyed another educational video on seeds at Mary's Heirloom Seeds. And like I said, if you've got any questions, send me an email. I'm happy to help. Thank you for joining me. Happy Earth Day and happy planting.